Hey everyone, welcome back. I've finished the drawing and now we're ready to paint, and so I'm going to kind of take you through step by step how to turn your drawing of your self-portrait into a painting. So to get started, you're going to want to get water, brushes, and a paper towel. So I'm just going to show you quick here what I've got. I've got a cup of water. I like to use these like old sour cream containers. I've got a couple brushes and I've got my paints. So this is my, you'll see a little bit of my messy art studio here. These are the brushes that I'm using, and I want to talk a little bit about brushes. You're going to need some small fine brushes for details. If you're working on the eyes or the eyebrows or the mouth, you're going to want some smaller brushes. So hopefully you can find a kind of fine point, smaller brush. If you look here, that's gonna, you're able to kind of get a thin line with that smaller brush. Then you're gonna want a few wider brushes. So I have kind of like a small and a medium for those. Really little for details and a little bit bigger. And then some kind of medium-ish brushes for, like if I was painting the background, I would use that wide square one, and maybe I would use this blue one here for filling in other spaces that aren't so little. So find some brushes that are a good range of sizes, from small details to a little bit bigger. If you try to paint, go in and paint the details on the eye with like some brush like this, you're going to be really frustrated, and you're not going to be able to keep, keep the drawing that you worked so hard on intact with kind of a big sloppy brush. So a lot of people, once they get started painting, they're like, okay, I have my pencil drawing and I know where things are, it's drawn the way I want. And now if I go paint it, what if I paint all over my pencil lines and I can't see what I want to do anymore? So I'm going to show you how to kind of outline your pencil lines first. We're going to outline them with kind of a brown. And you can see I worked on my drawing and I erased and I made some changes, and now I think it's pretty okay. But we can always make more changes if we need to. Here's my palette. I'm going to give you guys just some primary colors. I may have some purple or pink in there for you, but you can mix a lot of colors from these primary colors. So I had brown right here, and I added a little bit of white to my brown to make it a lighter grayish brown. White's really important, so keep a lot of white handy. So I'm going to take kind of my smaller brush, and I'm going to dip it in some water. So I dip my brush in some water, and then I kind of tap it on a paper towel so I don't have big, huge drops coming off of my brush. And I'm going to outline my pencil. And this is kind of like you're just going to do your pencil drawing now with the tip of your brush in kind of a light brown. And this way you don't lose all the details that you worked so hard on in your drawing. You'll know where all of those are. So I'm going to try to go a little bit quick through this process, and I'll just quickly go in a little bit of the eyebrows. This is acrylic paint, so we can go over it. If that was too dark for you, you could go over that with another lighter color. I'm using a little bit watered down acrylic paint just because big giant blobs of paint are not what I want right now. I want a kind of a thin, watery paint with not any big drips coming off, so that I can do these lines. And I can get the line work the way that I want it. No worries if you make a big mistake, if you get a blob where you didn't want it. No worries. We can just paint over it. That's the fun thing about acrylics. You might want to draw the line for the nose, if you did a nose like that. And now I'll come in and do the eyes. We'll zoom in a little bit. Maybe that helps. Sorry, my wobbly camera. Try to get told still. Again, you want to keep the shape that you decided on for your eyes. If you kind of have a round eyelid, if you kind of have a little bit pointy, like, you know, pointed corners of your eyes, or if your eyelid is round or slanted, keep those same shapes as you outline with your brush. I got a little too much paint there. Keep your paper towel handy to wipe your brush so you don't get big, huge blobs at this point. We're just using a little bit of paint. And there's kind of an inside corner to your eyes where your eyelids meet, and it's just kind of like there's usually kind of a little shadow there. She looks kind of weird without the irises, so we'll do that. And that'll look kind of strange until we fill that in with some color, but we've got the ears. Let me zoom out. Her hair is going to kind of come down and cover her ear right there, but I'm going to outline the hair. And the hair can be a little more flowy, or remember, the hair is, you're going to think about shapes. What shape is the hair? Is your hair really smooth? Or is it kind of stick out? Is it kind of fluffy? Is it curly? You can do some lines to show the direction and the flow of the hair, but I'm not trying to paint every little individual hair. I'm just doing a few lines to kind of show the flow. So now I've kind of outlined in kind of a light brown. The details for my drawing. So I've got kind of the basics of my drawings down in paint now. Okay. Now we'll talk a little bit about let's see. Talk about mixing colors. So I'm giving you primary colors because we can't give you like 20 different colors in a kit. It's just a little too many to fit. So we're going to talk about how to mix colors here. And people always ask, how do you mix skin tone? And it's not too hard, so I'll show you how to do it. It depends on what kind of skin tone you had. If you had brown skin, this is a good place to start with this brown here and add a little, maybe a little white and a little red. So that would work for a brown skin tone. If you have like a Caucasian skin tone, you're basically going to make a really light orange. Got a teeny bit of brown there. I'm going to grab a little bit of red, a little bit of yellow. We're going to make a peach color with red, yellow, and white. You're also going to want to add a little brown. Some of us have more pink skin, and some of us have more yellow olivey skin. So you might want to like look at your skin in the mirror. You know, do your arms get really tan in the summer? You might have olive skin. If you get really tan in the summer, you might want to add a little more brown and yellow. I have pink skin and I just get freckles and sunburns, and I don't get tan in the summer. So my skin would be a little more pink. So if you can see that, I've got kind of a peachy pink color there. Like I said, if you could play with a little bit more yellow or a little bit more brown if you wanted to make that darker. But I want to show you how to fill in the face a little bit. We're just going to use kind of, once you've got a color you like, Now it's going to look really dark on top of the white, right? Because it's compared to bright white, this looks dark, but once it's surrounded by a lot of different colors and not white, it's actually going to change the way that color looks. Colors can change the way they look to your eye just by which color, depending on which color they're next to. And it's okay if you want to change this a little later and you're like, I don't quite like that skin color. You can go over it. And most of my paintings, I go over with lots and lots of layers until I really like the color. You could use a little more water, but we're doing these paintings on some cardboard pieces, so you don't want to use too much water or your cardboard might start to melt in the water. Okay, so if you notice what I'm doing, I'm going around my brown lines, and that's how you want to treat your drawing. You're going around those brown lines, and that kind of tells you where to paint. Now, don't worry too much if you cover up one of the brown lines with some paint. Don't worry if it gets covered up a little bit, because they will. Just because you're painting around all these lines, some of them will get covered up a little bit. You'll probably still be able to see them through this light skin color. And you can always go back and paint those over. If you like the lines to be darker, you can just paint those back in your next layer. So don't worry too much if you cover up some of the brown. And it also depends on kind of the style you want your portrait. If you want it to be like with heavy outlines, you can go back over your lines. I think I kind of don't want to have heavy outlines, and so I'm just going to keep filling in with colors. And if you don't really see the lines, that's okay with me, because I still have my drawing. I still have my shapes where they need to be. The eyes haven't moved. They're still where they need to be. They're still the right shape. I'm just filling them in with color. You might want to take, for your lips, most people's lips, even boys' lips, I know you're not wearing lipstick or anything, but there is going to be a little bit of a color change with the lips, right? You're not going to, maybe you don't want a bright pink, but you do want a little bit brighter color. You don't want to paint them the exact same color as your face. So you decide. It's up to you if you want to just kind of make a little bit, a skin color with just a tiny bit more red or orange to make that skin color. I'm going to add a little more. Actually going to add some brown. And with the lips, I am kind of painting over those brown lines, but that's okay. All right, I need a smaller brush now to do details around the eyes. So I'm going to use green for the eyes, but for your eyes, for these are called primary colors: red, yellow, blue, and green is on there too, which is not a primary color, but these are really, really bright. If you look at someone and they have blue eyes or they have green eyes, they're not going to be like this straight out of the bottle blue. Like, nobody has eyes that are that color unless they're, I don't know, not real. So maybe cartoon characters. And nobody has eyes that are like bright green like that. So what we do to make that a more natural color is we just add some white, and we want to gray it down a little bit. So this will be a little bit more natural color green. And I'm even going to take some of this brown over here. And this will make a gray green, which is more like a hazel, which is a more natural color. You could do the same with the blue. You could use some brown to gray down the blue a little bit. Or if you have brown eyes, then you've already got some brown right there to do brown eyes. So then we'll fill in the eyes, the iris right there. I'm just going to go over that pupil because I'm not sure I like the way it looks in brown. You don't have to put the pupil in. You can if you want to make more details. Okay, now that my paint is drying, I feel like the skin color is a little splotchy where I added some water. There's some splotchiness going on, but that's easy to fix. I'll go in with a little more paint. And with that second coat, we'll kind of get rid of the splotchiness. And there might be some little white spots that I missed. And if I didn't get the lips shape quite right, I could go back in and paint over that a little bit until I like the shape. Okay. So I want to make sure that there's no little white spots left. And since we're working on a white canvas, don't leave any white spots left. We really want to fill all that in with the paint. And that's why you may need to go over it a couple times. I'm not too worried about painting kind of over the eyebrows and the hair a little bit, because I can just add those lines back in if I want to go back and add the eyebrows to make it a little darker. So you can still see my brown lines. They're still there. For me, they look fine the way they are. If you wanted to go back and do darker outlines, just take that same little brush with the brown and then go over your lines again, but hopefully they haven't disappeared. Hopefully they're still there. And she's got some ears here. Now some people like to do like a light pink like you did for your lips. Some people like to do a little bit of pink on the cheeks. It kind of makes your painting look a little bit more alive. That's just where we have a little bit more pink. Now I'm going to rinse out my small brush. I'm going to go back over the eyes. I know the eyes are tricky, so we'll talk about this a little bit. There's kind of a shadow under your top eyelid. And if you kind of went over it with the skin color, if you go back over that shadow with the brown, that's just going to kind of bring back that eye shape. I'm going to do the same over here. And a lot of people kind of have a shadow in that corner a little bit. And maybe I'll go back with the eyebrows a little bit. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. So if I wanted to, I could go back with the brown and outline the nose a little bit. And then maybe you want to go back and kind of where the lips got painted in, maybe you want to kind of put that smile back in there in the corners of the mouth. And then kind of, I'm going to paint that line back in there a little bit. There's kind of a shadow under your bottom lip. So if you want to make this look a little bit three-dimensional, you'll just put kind of a soft shadow there under the bottom lip. There's a little bit of shadow under your nose as well. So you might get a little bit of light brown. There's a little bit of shadow right there. Okay, now we're going to do the hair and the background, and this will be fun. So, let's see, what color should I do her hair? What what color do I have on my... All right, let's talk about hair color. Okay, let's say you're doing blonde hair. Lots of people have blonde hair. You're going to get some white. I'm going to keep adding a little bit of water to some of these because it's getting a little dried out. You're not going to use straight yellow out of the bottle. It's too bright and nobody has that color of hair really. You're going to add a little bit of white and again, a little bit of this brown. Okay, so a light yellowish brown is going to look more like blonde hair and it won't look like electric yellow hair. Like crazy yellow hair. Yeah, this is getting kind of towards blonde. Let's see how that looks. And the hair, I always do hair in lots of layers. I do kind of a darker layer first and then maybe add some lighter layers. So even if this year was like, well, this is a little too dark for my blonde hair, or my hair is a little more brown, this is just the first layer. So you can keep, whoops, sorry. It's tricky to paint around this camera. You could keep adding a few layers and changing the color a little bit until you like the hair color. Remember to pay attention to the shape of your hair. Is it wavy? Does it hang down straight? Is it kind of curly? Does it have some wavy shapes? Okay. Then we would probably want to go back with some lines and add some more details to the hair, but I might come in with a lighter yellow. And I might just add some of those flowy lines, because blonde hair does this. If you're blonde, you start out with kind of a darker brownish yellow, and then you add some bright yellow on top of that, and that looks kind of like when the light hits your hair, it's a little bit shiny. So even if it was looking a little dark to you, you might want to add, I guess they call them highlights. You add highlights to your hair. I'm going real quick here to try to finish up in the next couple of minutes. When you do this, you're going to fill in all of this white space, okay? Don't leave any white space. Fill it all in with paint. Okay? Same thing if you had brown hair. You would paint brown hair and then you would take a little bit lighter brown and then you would just do some lighter brown strokes in your hair to show the highlights in your hair. Same if you had like red hair with kind of orangey paint. Oh, okay. Before we do the background, we could add a little more detail to the eyes. Some people really like to do the highlights in the eyes. I would just leave this white part, the whites of your eyes, I would leave that kind of the white of the paper. But that's up to you. And then some people like to do that like little sparkly highlight. You could do that if you want. And then if you wanted to add the pupil, usually the pupil is kind of connected to that top eyelid shape. I'll get a little bit darker so you can see. Maybe we'll add just a few little eyelash shapes. Okay. All right, so pick a color, bright color for your background. Now, the plan for all of these self-portraits is We're going to hang them all up side by side at this school. And what's really fun about this is that we have all these fun colors all together. So I always tell the students, sorry, but don't paint your background just gray or brown, okay? Because what's really fun is when all these bright colors pop together, and it makes a really cool just art installation on the wall with fun bright colors. So I've got a little bit bigger brush here, and I'm just coming in with a flat brush. I'm just using a really bright blue. I like how it looks with the yellow hair. And I'm going a little fast here just to get this all finished before we stop the video. Again, don't be sloppy and leave lots of white spaces. Please fill those all in. And it's easy to change a color. If you paint a color that you kind of want to change, go over it again with a different color and see if you like it. Let's do a pink t-shirt. We haven't really, well, we kind of talked about mixing pink. If you just wanted to make like a bright pink t-shirt or color, I would take white with a little bit of red, and that's got maybe some pink right there. I'm going to do pink on her t-shirt. Okay, so paint away. I hope you have fun painting your self-portraits. I know they're all going to be different and unique and amazing and beautiful, just like all of our students are different and unique and amazing and beautiful. So, happy painting. I hope you guys have fun finishing up your portraits. I can't wait to see them when you're finished. Oh, and it's really important to sign your name. So don't forget that part. Get that skinny brush again. Pick a color that you want to sign your name. You're going to do like, you know, an artist does in the bottom right corner. And put your name on there so that everyone can see all the famous students on our wall and remember all of your names. Okay? All right. That's it, guys. Have fun. Bye-bye.